Hey guys, Dan here with the Masked Singer recap for the week. I'm no longer really calling it my guesses just because we've pretty much, I think, narrowed everybody down that's still in the competition. So this is more of just a recap. But once again, the person that got voted off is somebody that I had predicted for a long time. Wasn't quite sure at the first couple of weeks, but then came on board shortly after that. So all six remaining sang tonight. It was called the Battle of the Sixes. And we had Kitty first up. There was a fashion-heavy wardrobe that she showed in her package, a silver apple, a jukebox playing a song called Mind Your Manners by the Seal Sisters. I don't know if that's a real song or not. And then she sang Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend from Marilyn Monroe. The guest judge tonight on the show was Gordon Ramsay, Fox personality du jour. And so in his honor, everybody brought out, after they sang, a munchie of sorts that was a clue to who they are. So she had the layered opera cake. It was like a chocolate cake, and Gordon was the one that was like, oh, this is referred to as an opera cake. So his guess, because of that, was Charlotte Church. We also had Leah Michelle in there from Ken. There have been, a fair amount of Glee clues over the years, but just vocally I don't hear it. And then Eva Longoria was another guess. I think that was Jenny's. But I think this one is Jackie Ivanko. We've been saying this for weeks. No one on the panel has ever guessed her yet. But I think we're still on the right track with that one. So that was the Kitty. Rhino was next. He talked about his wife and baby rhinos being very important to him. And Nicole mentioned that she didn't think she had heard him say about having kids before. I know he's talked about his wife before, but maybe that is true. Maybe he's not referred to children before. There was a yoga motif there and a bar stool. And he sang Die a Happy Man from Thomas Rhett. His munchie was what he calls his favorite meal, spaghetti and meatballs covered with cheese. So the guesses from the panel, Jeff Bridges, because there have been really a lot of yoga, namaste type of Zen clues over the weeks. Vocally I don't know about it, but Ken did piece together some clues that might make sense for that. Charles Kelly was the guess from Gordon Ramsay. And to be completely honest, that's not the worst guess. Rhino is the one of the six that I'm still a little bit I don't know. Barry Zito has been thrown around on this show for the last few weeks. And that was all based on your comments, guys, because I didn't know who this person even was. Not much of a sports fan. But Jenny actually said Barry Zito tonight. So I think maybe that's the first time that he's been mentioned by the panel. And I did think maybe the spaghetti and meatballs was sort of a hint, like spaghetti baked Zito. I don't know. She did think, Jenny thought it was maybe an Italian reference, like an Italian last name he has. So it could be him. But Charles Kelly from Lady Antebellum, that Gordon Ramsay suggested, isn't the worst that I've heard. So I could see it being him as well. Neither him nor Barry Zito are household names, so I think celebrity-wise they're probably about on par there. Okay, so up next was the Frog. There was a basketball with some chocolates nearby, a red jersey with the number 23, which of course everybody thinks about Michael Jordan for that. And then the song he sang was Whatever It Takes by Imagine Dragons. This was really cool because this really showed the Frog's range. We've heard him do R&B before. We've heard him rap, clearly. But this was the first, and there is some rapping in this song too, but this is, pretty much an alternative pop song, and we've not heard him do one of those before. And then for the munchie, it was a catfish, which of course everybody was like, oh, this is somebody from the South, maybe somebody from Atlanta, and those are all possible. Lil Jon was the guess from Gordon Ramsay. I think vocally that's way off. Omarion is somebody that has been guessed before by Robin a few times, but actually Nicole took it this week, and Robin's guess was Bow Wow, which is, I've been saying it literally since the first week of the season. Since the first time we ever saw the frog, they had the $106 laying on the ground there, and I thought, that's a clue to 106th and Park, a show that Bow Wow hosted, and then all of the clues along the way, like Mike, CSI, all these different things. Lottery Ticket with Ice Cube, which I pointed out last time he sang. Was that just last week? Because they had like an Ice Cube tray, and I said he was in Lottery Ticket with Ice Cube. Robin said that tonight. So, I have no doubt this is Bow Wow. I'm glad somebody on the panel finally said about it. Up next was Night Angel. She has talked about the many calls she's had in her life, some good, some bad. She wants to free your mind. So that was like trying to throw us on the En Vogue route. And then she has some kind of a hotline. That was sort of the whole motif, is like a psychic hotline type of thing. She sang Black Velvet from Alana Miles, which Jenny said was the greatest performance in Masked Singer history. Look, Jenny gets a little hyperbolic with that. She says it just about every other week to somebody. I don't think that's even remotely true, at least in my opinion, but all right. Her munchie was fried bugs, which, is a southern delicacy kind of thing, which Gordon Ramsay, definitely was like, oh yeah, like absolutely. I think this is Candy Burris, which was said tonight by, I think it was Jenny. Chili from TLC was Ken's guess, because you can dip fried bugs in chili, and it's, a southern delicacy. And then Dawn Robinson was Nicole's guess. She's from En Vogue. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's Candy Burris. It's been Candy Burris in my mind for a long, long time. Didn't really know who she was either until I researched it a little more. The first week I thought it was Monica, but ever since then, I've pretty much been on the Candy Burris train. So I think it's her. Her name has been thrown around, like, Jenny or Robin has said her at least a couple of times in the past. Not last week, but early on in the season. So I think that all makes sense. Oh, by the way, the other thing before we go on with the munchies and the catfish with the frog, he's a little Bow Wow, dogs chase cats, catfish. So I don't know. That was another clue to me that it was Bow Wow. The astronaut was next. He's the one who got voted out, so we'll talk about him last. And then the turtle, there was a giant chessboard with two big clocks on it. He said he's always had insecurities about not being good enough. There wasn't a ton of clues with him, but the song he did was Stay by Alicia Cara, great song. And then the munchie for him was apple salsa with chips. I've been saying, again, this wasn't the very first week. First week I was kind of thinking Joey McIntyre, but for a long, long time I've been on the Jesse McCartney train with this. I think vocally it matches up, and no one has still yet said Jesse McCartney. This week some of the guesses included Gavin DeGraw, Zayn Malik from One Direction, and Adam Lambert. We've heard Adam Lambert before. There's been a lot of like Queen type clues, but just vocally it's not there. I mean, Adam Lambert has such a range. I mean, it's, even if he was tamping it down a bit to not be known, I don't know, I just don't think there would be this many Queen clues, and I think his voice would still stick out a little more than that. So I still think this is Jesse McCartney. Astronaut was last. Here we had a joker surrounded by four aces. He said he stopped growing, so he focused on new worlds. The song he did was Story of My Life by One Direction, and his munchie was a king cake from Mardi Gras, a huge Mardi Gras delicacy, I guess. Gordon Ramsay told us all about it. And so this led the panel to some interesting clues. So Jenny was thinking it was maybe Ben Platt from Pitch Perfect. Or no, was he from Ben Platt? Well, he is in Pitch Perfect, but there's another Pitch Perfect guest coming up. He's in like Dear Evan Hansen and that kind of thing. But two people said, who I said right from the very first week, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. And that was Robin and Gordon Ramsay. They both thought that because, like, king cake, just can't wait to be king. They didn't specifically mention this, but the whole, like, I stopped growing, so I focused on new worlds. Part of the reason at least through conventional wisdom, that Jonathan Taylor Thomas never made a successful adult acting career is because he stopped growing at a very short height. He's about my height, which is 5'3". I think he's probably a little taller than me, but I don't think by much. So, I think maybe that was sort of a clue in that direction. But I've been saying Jonathan Taylor Thomas from the first week because of there was like a tool belt, like Tim the Tool Time Taylor, and then they did some kind of, like the theme is the astronaut, and so his dad Tim Allen on the show played Buzz Lightyear. So I thought Jonathan Taylor Thomas, but from week 2 or 3, I was like, okay, no. Now I'm thinking it's maybe Hunter Hayes. Nobody has said Hunter Hayes on the panel until this week. The astronaut was going to be voted off, and so they all got to make their final guesses. Ken said it was Skylar Aston, who is the Pitch Perfect person. And then, JTT was up in the mix again. But Nicole, who had been thinking one thing, switched at the last minute and said, wait a second, I've got it. Vocally, yes, it's there. The clue about taking me to a party, or to a birthday party, we both played the 4th of July America's birthday party in D.C. the one year, this is Hunter Hayes. And finally I was like, okay, she's got it, it's Hunter Hayes. If it was Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I would have lost my mind. But I think you guys convinced me enough on the comments that vocally it's got to be Hunter Hayes. And then all the clues started lining up. Guinness Book of World Records, which is like he holds a record for most concerts played in 24 hours. What were some of the other clues that I was like, this is definitely Hunter Hayes? I can't think of all of them now, but some of the ones they said at the end of the show were like Orion's belt was a constellation that they showed in one of the clue packages. Orion is known as the Hunter, so Hunter Hayes. And then some of the clues were like references to songs of his down the line. I remember one. They didn't mention this on this show, but a few weeks ago they talked about him like falling off stage when they interviewed like his friend. They were like, "Oh, he fell off stage, and it was horrible or whatever." And sure enough, Hunter Hayes fell off stage into the crowd, 10 years ago or whatever. So, yes, it was Hunter Hayes, the astronaut. We got that one shortly after the start. I was a little bit into Jonathan Taylor Thomas for the first week. Definitely for the first week. And then second week I was like 50-50. I was pretty sure it was Hunter Hayes from the vocals, but I was trying to stick to my guns for a second on Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Solely because, nobody had me on Bret Michaels. Like, Bret Michaels, I said it from the first week. Everybody was like, you're crazy. The people I talked to in person about it or over the phone, like my brother and some people online, were like, no way, it's not Bret Michaels, But I stuck to my guns on it. And sure enough, last week it was Bret Michaels. But the evidence for Hunter Hayes became kind of insurmountable once he was in the mix. So I had to go with Hunter Hayes pretty early on. And there it was, Hunter Hayes. So that was the recap from this week. So next week we're down to 5. We will say goodbye to somebody else. I think the top 2, the final 2 are going to be the Frog for sure. And then my guess would be maybe the Turtle or the Kitty. Night Angel's good, but I don't think she's quite to that level. Rhino, same thing. Clearly this is a guy who can sing, whether or not that's his profession or not. If he's a sports star or whatever, I don't know, but he can definitely sing, whoever he is. But I think the Frog's going to win the whole thing. I think it's going to be Frog number 1. I would say top 3 is like Frog, Turtle, and Kitty, probably. But we'll see what happens next week, so join us again for another edition of the Masked Singer Recap here on Dan Reviews It. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.